Hey, everybody, this is two EdTech guys take questions and share cool stuff. And that's pretty much describes everything you're going to deal with. We're going to also do this very nice thing that you can do, which is turn on captions, because that can be helpful to folks who want them, especially folks who want them who don't actually need punctuation, just saying. All right. We appreciate that you're taking the time to watch this recording. If you have questions for us, feel free to send them our way. We'll give you the ability to do that. You can do it at the comments or contact us section on nextvista.org. That's the little nonprofit I run, a video library by and for teachers and students everywhere. And then there is this thing that Richard runs. Richard, talk to us.
You can also send me your questions at freetechforteachers.com, which I've been running now for almost 17 years.
That's right. That's right. We are not new to this stuff for sure. And one of the reasons that we do what we do is because not being new to this stuff, we've dealt with some stuff that a lot of people are like, wait, how do I deal with this? And so we're seeking to build good karma by answering such questions. And we're gonna look at two today. Start us off, Richard.
All right. The first question came from Sahar. I hope I'm saying that correctly. My question is, why can't I use Mote and Google Timer simultaneously in my Google Forms quizzes? I need to construct a test and I'm struggling. So, real quick answer to that is that there's a compatibility issue between the two add-ons that you're trying to use. That is the short version of that. Beyond that, what the compatibility issue is, I couldn't tell you, but the folks at Mote, M-O-T-E, they're really helpful, very responsive on social media as well as email. I'd reach out to them. Another solution you can do is to simply use the timing function in your Google Classroom so that you schedule your form to appear at a certain time and then use the form limiter add-on for Google Forms to automatically close it at a given time. So that's what I would do.
I think I will take the opportunity not to add more thoughts on this specific question, but to highlight something that you said, which is that, when you have a question about this stuff, one of the good moves is just to contact the company, like about every other company, and especially the small ones that are trying to figure themselves out, are folks that they really want to hear from people who are using this stuff. And you contact them, and especially if you word your question well, right? Because they're humans too. And that can, make you somebody who they really value. And so it might be that, they're coming up with something new in what they do. And they're like, hey, could you give this a spin, kick these tires, see what you think? There's no, other than the fact that there are plenty of other things vying for your time, there's no reason not to do that, and to become someone who just talks with these folks at these companies who are trying to make these kinds of products.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of getting into kind of deep questions with folks at companies, let's get into a deep dive with the second question for today. Richard, talk to us about that other question that we're going to spend some time on.
Yeah, so this question comes from a friend of the program, John, who has sent us other questions in the past. And he's emailing us because his current tech integration gig has been slashed to half-time. And next year, he needs to teach some intro to computer science courses. There's a curriculum in place, which I'm not thrilled with. So I'm looking into some redesign. From what I found online, Intro to CS really runs the gamut with regard to topic and scope. I've found a number of your posts with CS resources, which I'm going through, but it sounds like you're teaching courses along those lines. This is a long-winded email to ask you. You might have any syllabus to share. At this point, I'm trying to build a logical progression of topics. I think we'll move from informational to hands-on so kids won't feel they are hopping from one thing to another without relevance. Yeah, there's a lot of things going on here. So number one, I need to clarify that I am not currently teaching computer science courses. I'm not doing that this year, but Intro to CS. So I've taught two different courses that would qualify as an intro to computer science course. The first one was a course for freshmen, 9th grade students, a semester-long course that met for one period, 80 minutes every other day. And that was really, truly an intro course. And for the most part, followed along with Code.org's CSP Principles course. And I did that during the height of the pandemic. So it really was a lot of online instruction, and not, and modifying based on those needs. The other course that I've taught that is a more robust course, for lack of a better term, on Intro to CS, followed two parts. Number one, a PC repair segment, and that followed by the Cisco CCNA exam prep. Okay. But those classes met for 3 hours every other day. So we would go through some of the kind of canned curriculum very quickly. And if you did 3 hours of CCNA exam prep every day with kids, you would bore them to tears, especially kids who are just sophomores and juniors, because it is, it's boring. I mean, as great as it is, and there's a lot of very, very useful skills, the way that Cisco writes it does not make it fun.
Bless their heart.
Because it's exam prep. It's preparing to take a standardized exam for certification so that you can go and get a job, right? So I would do that stuff for like an hour with them. And then the rest of the time, we would do all manner of stuff. We had a ton. I mean, probably literal ton if you weighed it. A ton of old broken PCs that we would take in from everywhere. And we did a lot of things just like tearing them down and seeing diagnostics and seeing what's wrong with them and how do you put them back together, and how do you make them run, stuff like that. Then there was some like level 1 kind of triage of Mrs. So-and-so down the hallway has an issue with her laptop. Can we get it fixed and get it back to her? Boom, we did a lot of that. We also did a lot with Arduino. Did a lot of Arduino design. Tinkercad was very useful. Is very useful in that department, particularly when you get into more advanced projects where kids need to really account for all of the circuits that they're running and making sure that they're using all the pieces correctly before they actually turn the power on, so as to not blow things out and break things. So Tinkercad was really, really useful for that. And so a lot of it was projects designed, one, for triaging those PCs, but also for building things that the kids just thought were kind of like fun and cool. I did a challenge with them for a couple of weeks that was create a thing that travels 50 feet as fast as possible. Right? Basically, I think that was the basic prompt: 50 feet as fast as possible, without human intervention. Right? So, like, put it down, let it go. How long does it take to go 50 feet? Right? So a lot of things, like a lot of stuff like that. But Rushton, I've talked enough about it.
Well, you've hit several different pieces of this, and I want to take a frame on this as well. First, directly to your question, just in terms of resources, I would have you consider the possibilities that come with design thinking curriculum, right? And so the Stanford D School, if you just do a Google search on Stanford D School, just D School, right? DSCHOOL. And design thinking education. I mean, you'll get to this first piece. And so this will give you a really good framework for how to think about projects you might do in an Intro to CS class that you are making really cool and interesting, because it's certainly possible to make Intro to CS classes deadly boring. So please don't do that as a teacher. Now, thinking along those lines, let's talk just a little bit about projects, right? So whatever it is you're teaching them, even if it's the philosophical framework through something like design thinking, you can really stop and say, all right, what represents a project. So if you were doing some kind of programming, even if you don't have the programming skills to do it, this is one way to get kids into that computational thinking, programmatic thinking kind of, to be like, what would be a project? What would you need to ask people? What kinds of things would you anticipate, might come up as a challenge in building a program along those lines based on what you know? And so having this kind of exploratory time in the class where they're not just, say, learning to code, right? But they're really thinking through, like, well, what the people who code well, one of the things about them is not their coding skills, it's their ability to talk to people who want something coded. And remarkably few programs focus on that in any meaningful way, which is why something like design thinking curriculum can be really, really helpful. I'll also say this, in that note, and we don't know whether, actually, you may know, is John a high school teacher or
Yep.
Okay, he's a high school teacher. I think this applies to both middle school and high school, but wherever you may be giving this a try, feel free. But I think that if you've gone from being a full-time integration specialist to being a part-time integration easy for me to say, integration specialist teaching intro to computer science, you might think, oh my God, where am I going to find the time to do the things I did when I was full-time doing this? I mean, that could be real depending on how you approach the job before. But as an integration specialist who is part-time, having your feet in the classroom regularly as well has a lot of advantages. You're in that space where you can try some of the things that you're learning about as you go, and you're in a flexible enough subject to be able to do that in a lot of different ways. So that's a cool element to the shift if you use it as such. And so, John, I would encourage you along those lines to really think in terms of, I'm going to use this Intro to CS class also as a way to test how to get students engaged in the things they do. Because you can imagine, like, the kind of projects that students might have where, if they've gotten far enough along, their job is to come up with something, right? And to talk to people in the community who might be, who might be trying to figure out how they can build a website that does X, Y, or Z, or simply get, the many ways that you can get information to people through, say, a Google Doc that has been published to the web. There's a lot of ways to get there, but that interaction between the person who wants something done, like we were talking about before, the person who wants something done, and what it is that you create as the person doing it for them, is a wonderful set of skills to develop.
Yeah, let me throw in a couple other quick thoughts on this, Rushton, before
Sure.
we move on. So two other things that I forgot to mention. Number one, in that course with freshmen that I did, that CSP, we did eventually run out of stuff, and what I moved into from there was actually designing an app with the MIT App Inventor, building apps with the MIT App Inventor, which is a fantastic way to get students to take an idea that they have, and then, the prompt that I gave them was, or basically, develop an idea for a prompt for an app that solves a problem you have, right? And so kids built all kinds of things, a lot of like quiz kind of apps, study apps got built that way. And bear in mind, you could take that project from a 2-week activity and turn it into a year-long activity, depending
Yes.
on how in depth you want to go. And I should point out that I've taught workshops that I call app design for the rest of us. And a lot of people will come to it thinking, oh, you can make an app in a day. Like, you can make an app in a day, but to make it work and do all the stuff you really want it to do takes a lot longer than that. So keep that in mind. The other thing that I did with my other group that met for 3 hours every other day, we would dive into Instructables. You had mentioned contests, Rushton. I know you're a big fan of contests. Shameless plug, Rushton runs some contests on Next Vista for Learning. But Instructables has some contests throughout the year for different design projects, and depending on the contest, you can actually win some serious coin for your Amazon account, for your school Amazon account. So check that out. Yeah.
Cool. Speaking of things to check out.
Yeah, I've got two of them. I'll make them real quick. So the first one is the David Rumsey map collection, which has been around, I'm sure a lot of people know about it. It's now on the Internet Archive. 117,000 of the maps in the collection are now available on the, 111,000. That was close. What's 6,000 between friends? 111,000 historical maps that are Creative Commons licensed. So make sure you cite it correctly and give proper attribution. But a ton of them there. You can look through for all kinds of purposes. One of the things that I mentioned when writing about it last week is the idea of taking some of those maps and overlaying them in Google Earth to make comparisons. And the blog post that I have linked up in the slides actually shows you how to make one of those overlays. And I love maps. So, I mean, it's just a cool way to explore the world. And the other slide is something that's completely different. It comes from Open Phys Ed, a company that I love. If I was a phys ed teacher, it would be the thing that I looked at probably every morning and every afternoon. But I love them because they do things that are not your typical phys ed, right? They're not your balls. They're not throw the baseball around. One of the programs they have is the Believe in You Empowerment Program. They have these journals that you can give to kids to fill out to tackle all kinds of topics like goal setting, resiliency, grit, just a fantastic resource. And let me give you a better link for it, Rushton, to put up on the screen there. Thought I had, but I guess I didn't. These empowerment journals are just, there we go. There's a link for it. Sorry, better link, folks. Sorry, here, better visual is coming up soon. There they are, and you can download them. They're free to download. There's an entire 40-week program if you wanted to do like their entire empowerment program, or you can just use the journals. Those Believe in You journals and journals about grit, growth mindset, generosity, goal setting. Just a fantastic resource. And as I wrote in my blog post about it, I think it's just a great way to get kids, thinking about their empowerment and believing in themselves. And, for a kid who comes to phys ed class and is, feeling like, I don't, maybe I'm not cut out for phys ed, or, I just think it's a great program. Awesome program. So
very, very cool.
Yeah.
Also in the cool space are cars that also fly. So
Back to the Future?
This was one of those things, right? So like, the fun of this is a video. So what this link is, you want to go to nextvista.org/NVIV. So every week I put out a post that is some very cool short video with some prompting questions for discussion or writing or both or whatever. Just an opportunity to, have kids use language in a different way or speculate on what the physics or, general science might be related to whatever. They vary. Some of them are kind of cool things like this, where this was the first intercity flight of a combination car airplane. So it took place over in Europe several years ago. I think it was 2021. And it's a cool video. So it's an interesting storytelling tool as well. But my goal in these is to kind of give kids a lot of space to go, this is what fascinated me about this. This is what stands out. And so if you go to nextvista.org/NVIV, you will find a lot of those possibilities there. And I hope you'll give that a look. In terms of learning about this stuff, we each have newsletters. Mine at nextvista.org/newsletter. I send out once a month with all kinds of different things. You can earn a Starbucks card because why not, right? I've written some books. Feel free to give those a look if you're curious about them. And then there is this in terms of a weekly newsletter from Richard.
Yeah, check out my Practical EdTech weekly newsletter. I send it out on Sunday evening or Monday morning, depending on your time zone, or perhaps Tuesday, depending on where you are in the world. And if you sign up for my newsletter, I'll send you a copy of the Practical EdTech Handbook. It's free. I also have some courses that you can sign up for. They're self-paced if you'd like as well. And you can check those out at practicaledtech.com. You can go to my YouTube channel where I tackle all manner of questions and things. My most recent video is about Google Scholar.
I was thinking about the little thing on the wall behind you in the screenshot here. Why can't you find elephants hiding in trees? And that's because
they're good at it.
Exactly. All right, which makes plenty of sense to me. Thank you guys for watching our little show. We hope that you learned something interesting. You got some ideas for your teaching, and you're excited about one or more of the things that we shared. But we're gonna do this as often as we do this. That's not very specific, right? And we welcome you're asking any questions through the different channels that we've offered up, including nextvista.org/contact if you like. So if you are winding down your term, good luck with the finish to the semester or the quarter or the school year or whatever it is that's kind of in front of you. And we hope that you will find just enough energy in there to encourage some kid who might not be in the most confident space of the year, let's say. Those are the kind of moments that often matter far more than the content you teach. So put a little energy into making that happen. And with that, we'll finish up. Feel free to let us know if you want to get to all of these things, which you can find via the nextvista.org website. And we are happy to share these thoughts with you, and we'll see you next month.